Have you ever felt like the world was crumbling around you, with no hope in sight? Imagine losing the love of your life, and then facing the prospect of losing your home, the very place where you shared countless memories together. This is the heart-wrenching story of Sarah, a 62-year-old widow who found herself on the brink of homelessness after her husband's unexpected passing. Sarah and John had been married for 40 wonderful years. They'd built their life together in a cozy little house on Maple Street, filling it with love, laughter, and dreams of growing old side by side. But fate had other plans. John's sudden heart attack left Sarah devastated and alone, struggling to make ends meet on her meager pension. As the bills piled up and foreclosure loomed, Sarah's world grew darker by the day. She felt lost, abandoned, and utterly helpless. Little did she know, a chance encounter was about to change everything, but not before pushing her to the very edge of despair. Friends, this story is a powerful reminder that sometimes hope comes from the most unexpected places. It's a tale of human kindness, resilience, and the incredible impact we can have on each other's lives. If you're looking for inspiration and stories that touch the heart, make sure to subscribe to TrueSpark. As we delve deeper into Sarah's journey, you'll discover how a complete stranger became her guardian angel. But here's the thing, there's more to this story than meets the eye. Stay tuned, because the twists and turns ahead will leave you speechless. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment of this extraordinary tale. Sarah's life had become a daily struggle since John's passing. Each morning she'd wake up reaching for him, only to be greeted by cold, empty sheets. The silence in the house was deafening, broken only by her quiet sobs as she tried to face another day alone. As she shuffled through the mail one morning, her hands trembling, Sarah's heart sank. Another past-due notice from the bank. How had it come to this? John had always handled their finances, and now she felt lost in a sea of numbers and obligations she couldn't meet. Desperate for help, Sarah reached out to her children, but with families of their own and living in different states, they could offer little more than sympathetic words and promises to figure something out. The weight of her predicament pressed down on her, suffocating and relentless. With nowhere else to turn, Sarah reluctantly visited the local food bank. As she stood in line, clutching her empty basket, she felt a deep shame wash over her. How had she, once a proud homeowner and loving wife, ended up here? It was at the food bank that Sarah first met Michael, a kind-faced volunteer in his mid-30s. As he helped her fill her basket, he noticed the tears she tried to hide. "Is everything okay, ma'am?" he asked gently. Something in his voice made Sarah want to open up, but she held back, managing only a weak smile and a whispered, "Thank you." Days turned into weeks, and Sarah's situation grew more dire. The final foreclosure notice arrived, giving her just 30 days to vacate her beloved home. That night, she sat in John's old armchair, surrounded by photos and memories, and wept until she had no tears left. The next morning, feeling utterly defeated, Sarah decided to take one last walk through the neighborhood she'd called home for 4 decades. As she passed the local park, she noticed Michael from the food bank jogging along the path. Michael recognized Sarah immediately and slowed to a stop. Seeing the pain etched on her face, he gently asked what was wrong. This time, overwhelmed by kindness and at her lowest point, Sarah found herself pouring out her story to this virtual stranger. As Michael listened, his heart went out to Sarah. He couldn't believe that someone who had given so much to her family and community could be left in such a desperate situation. Right then and there, he made a decision that would change both their lives forever. "Sarah," Michael said, his voice filled with determination, "I want to help you. I don't know how yet, but I promise you, we're going to find a way to save your home." For the first time in months, Sarah felt a tiny spark of hope ignite in her heart. Michael spent the next few days researching everything he could about foreclosure laws and assistance programs. He discovered that Sarah might be eligible for a special hardship program, but the application process was complex, and time was running out. Undeterred, Michael took time off work to help Sarah navigate the bureaucratic maze. They spent hours filling out forms, making phone calls, and gathering the necessary documentation. All the while, Michael's kindness and dedication left Sarah in awe. As they worked together, Sarah began to open up more about her life with John. She shared stories of their early days, their struggles and their triumphs. Michael found himself deeply moved by the love they had shared and became even more determined to help. With just 2 weeks left before the foreclosure deadline, they hit a major roadblock. The bank seemed unwilling to consider Sarah's application, citing missed deadlines and incomplete paperwork. Sarah's hope began to fade once more. But Michael refused to give up. He reached out to local media, sharing Sarah's story and highlighting the bank's lack of compassion. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Calls and emails flooded in from people wanting to help. As Sarah's story spread, it caught the attention of a local lawyer who specialized in foreclosure cases. Moved by her plight, he offered his services pro bono. Suddenly, Sarah had a whole team fighting for her. The increased pressure and public attention forced the bank to reconsider Sarah's case. With the lawyer's expertise and Michael's tireless advocacy, they managed to secure a meeting with the bank's representatives just days before the foreclosure was set to take place. The night before the meeting, Sarah couldn't sleep. She sat in her kitchen looking at old photos and praying for a miracle. As dawn broke, she heard a knock at the door. It was Michael, armed with coffee and words of encouragement. Together they went to the bank. The meeting was tense and at times heated, but Michael and the lawyer presented their case with passion and conviction. Hours passed as they negotiated, revised figures, and pleaded Sarah's case. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the bank agreed to a modified payment plan that would allow Sarah to keep her home. As the realization sank in, Sarah burst into tears of relief and gratitude. Michael enveloped her in a warm hug, his own eyes glistening. But the story doesn't end there. News of Sarah's victory spread quickly, inspiring others in the community. People began reaching out, sharing their own stories of hardship and asking for help. Michael, energized by the impact they'd made, knew this was just the beginning. In the weeks that followed, Michael and Sarah worked together to establish a local support group for seniors facing financial difficulties. They organized workshops, connected people with resources, and continued to advocate for those in need. Sarah's home became a gathering place for this new community. The rooms that had once echoed with loneliness now buzzed with conversation, laughter, and hope. Sarah found a new purpose, using her experience to guide and comfort others. As for Michael, his act of kindness had awakened something in him. He realized that his true calling was in community service and advocacy. With Sarah's encouragement, he decided to pursue a degree in social work, determined to make an even bigger impact. 1 year after their first meeting, Sarah and Michael stood together in her backyard, surrounded by friends old and new. They were celebrating not just Sarah's home being saved, but the birth of a movement that had changed countless lives in their community. Sarah, her eyes shining with tears of joy, raised a toast. "To Michael," she said, her voice filled with emotion, "who reminded me that there are angels among us, and to all of you who proved that together we can overcome anything." As the gathering continued, Michael pulled Sarah aside. "I have something to tell you," he said, a mix of excitement and nervousness in his voice. But before he could finish, they were interrupted by a new arrival. "Friends, as I stand here in Sarah's beautifully kept garden, surrounded by the warmth of community and the sweet scent of hope, I can't help but marvel at the journey we've witnessed. But remember that interruption I mentioned? Well, it turns out that the new arrival was none other than Michael's long-lost father, a man who, as fate would have it, had been John's best friend in college. This incredible coincidence not only gave Michael a connection to his past, but also provided Sarah with a living link to her beloved John. It was as if the universe had conspired to bring healing and connection to both of them in the most unexpected way. The lesson here is profound. In our darkest moments, when all seems lost, the light of human kindness can illuminate the path forward. Sarah and Michael's story reminds us that we all have the power to be that light for someone else. It doesn't always require grand gestures. Sometimes it's the simple act of listening, of showing up, of refusing to give up on someone that can change a life forever. As we wrap up this incredible tale, I want to challenge each of you watching. Look around your community. Is there a Sarah out there who needs your help? Is there a cause that ignites your passion the way Michael's experience did for him? Don't wait for the perfect moment. That moment is now. And speaking of now, if this story has touched your heart, inspired you, or made you think differently about the power of community, I urge you to take action. Subscribe to TrueSpark for more stories that will uplift and motivate you. Share this video with someone who might need a reminder that hope exists. Leave a comment telling us how this story impacted you or sharing your own experiences of unexpected kindness. And don't forget to hit that like button to help more people discover this powerful message. Remember, every view, every share, every comment builds our community of hope and inspiration. Together we can create a world where no one feels alone in their struggles, where kindness is the currency of choice, and where every day brings the possibility of a life-changing encounter. This is TrueSpark, reminding you that the truest spark of change lies within each of us. Until next time, keep your hearts open and your kindness flowing. You never know whose life you might change, or how that change might come back to bless you in ways you never imagined.